Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. My name is Melinda George, and on behalf of the National Commission on Teaching in America's Future, it is my pleasure to welcome you all here today. For some of you, this may feel a little familiar because you joined us here last year when NCTAF had the honor of co-hosting with OECD the U.S. release of the Teaching and Learning International Survey, or TALIS. We are so glad to be back here together again today and so pleased that you all could join us. Earlier this year, NCTAF announced the launch of a new Great Teaching initiative. For more than 20 years, NCTAF has asserted, and research has supported, that teaching is the single greatest factor in influencing students' educational success. And as such, teaching needs to be a considerable part of the solution in improving education. Through this new initiative, NCTAF will address a fundamental national challenge. How can states, districts, communities, educators, and schools most effectively support teaching that facilitates deeper learning for every student? And how can we, as an education community, come together around a set of common principles that will help to propel American education forward and ensure a strong education for every student? NCTAF will seize the opportunities presented by some important shifts in the educational landscape, including new strategies and tools for educational assessment, new standards for teachers and students, technology innovations that improve teaching resources and learning environments, and new lessons about creative design in the organization of teaching. We will use this momentum from these shifts to drive positive change around high-level principles. The goal of this initiative is to inform and shift the national conversation around teaching to one that is positive, collective, and action-oriented. It will be supportive of educators and focused on how to provide resources and tools that encourage great teaching. To accomplish this goal, NCTAF is developing a research-based report with recommendations for policy and practice to be released in 2016, while also building partnerships and momentum for a robust mobilization of educators, community members, policymakers, and families to enact the Commission's recommendations. We will host national and regional convenings, research syntheses, a collective research agenda, policy papers, and a national outreach campaign. There are many ways that organizations can be part of the Great Teaching Initiative, and we encourage you to reach out to us with ideas. We would love to highlight research, best practices, and examples that support great teaching, and we are also working on a mobilization effort to share the Commission's recommendations, and we would love to connect with your networks. Our partnership with OECD, and I'm really grateful to Andreas for being here and for this strong partnership that we have, is so important because it allows the NCTAF Commission to learn from other countries about what works and the policies and initiatives that have been put in place to make things work. The attention focused on international benchmarking should not be about which country is better, and definitely not which is worse. It is about what we can learn from experiences and practices of other countries that can inform our own policies and practices. And NCTAF stands ready to help analyze these attributes and share them with the national audience. It is also critical that the voice of teachers as leaders and messengers is heard throughout the Commission's work. TALIS ensures that this is happening, bringing together the voices of educators from 34 countries and providing data that can be used to improve learning environments around the country is so important. And we encourage everyone to be on the lookout for the 2018 TALIS survey so that we can have robust participation and representation of the voice of U.S. teachers and principals. We are really pleased to dig deeper into this TALIS work, and dig deeper we will today. starting with professional development. That's really the purpose of bringing us all together today. As we work to improve learning for all students and to elevate the teaching profession, we must look closely at professional development opportunities we are offering to our educators. Are we providing time for collaboration and teaming? Are we allowing educators to identify and participate in professional learning opportunities that meet their needs when they need it? Are we building professional skills, confidence, and self-efficacy? Today, we are joined by an incredible cast of experts, folks who have been striving for better professional development for all educators. We are going to begin with Andreas Schleicher, who will provide us with a truly global view of professional development, digging deeper into the TALIS results and helping to identify some practices used in other countries that have made a difference. We are then going to hear from Randy Weingarten, who will help to share the U.S. perspective around professional learning. What is happening in this country, and what do we know from educators that would make it better? We will then have two outstanding panels. The first is a panel of educators, teachers, and a principal who will share with you their firsthand experiences around professional learning. We will hear from them as they talk about meaningful professional development experiences, and we will ask them to help us think about how we could make these positive experiences and those like we will hear Andreas share from other countries become the norm in this country. And then we will have a panel of policy experts, and no pressure here, but we're going to ask them to take all of this great information and tell us what it means in terms of U.S. policy. How can we make changes at every level, federal, state, and district, that will allow professional development that is meaningful and has a positive impact for teachers and therefore for students? It's going to be a great afternoon, and we are all going to learn a lot. I encourage you to tweet a lot. The hashtags are on the screen and also in the speaker bios. Please let folks know what you are thinking. I'm going to stop here and introduce you to Dan Leeds. Dan is a NCTAF commissioner, and he is also the founder and president of the National Public Education Support Fund. Dan is part of a family that has cared about education and has been instrumental in starting a number of organizations to help inform, advocate, and shape a society in which every child has the opportunity to obtain a high-quality education that will prepare them for successes in college, career, and life. I have had the pleasure of working with Dan several times over the last year in particular. He joined the commission in January, and he has already become an integral part of that momentum I was talking about and the thought leadership that is driving this initiative. I will also say that I have come to count on Dan as a spokesperson and advocate for NCTAF's work, and I'm very appreciative of that. Dan is here to bring a greeting on behalf of the National Commission and also to introduce our keynote speaker, Andreas Schleicher. Dan?